So when I am ready to face and deal with the problem, Shastra is ready to assist, to help us equip with knowledge to deal with those things. And Shastra says, Gita says that there are two methods or two ways of working on the problems. And what is that? Solving the problem, point one. And second, dissolving the problem. समझ में आ रहा है? So solving the problem is one aspect of it. And dissolving the problem is much more a greater aspect of it. What is solving and what is dissolving? Solving the effect of the problem, dissolving the cause of the problem. So when we are using these kind of words, further explanation is required. So whenever I have the problem, mere solving the effect of it is not going to really solve it. It is not the complete solution of it. It is not the complete way of working upon it. So I have to solve the after effect of it. Also I should dissolve the cause of it. So consequence, paristhiti, nivritti, and karana nivritti api. So karya nivritti, karana nivritti together is called dealing with the problem. So now let us slowly see what is called solving the problem and what it is that is called as dissolving the problem. I will solve a problem, I will be capable of solving a problem when I have something called as well-informed mind. Be attentive and listen. To solve any problem, I require something called a very well-informed mind. So with the help of well-informed mind, I will be able to solve my problems because my problems and dealing with them, solving them involves a great deal of thinking. Not only that, much more a great deal of alteration and adaptation of thoughts. Because as Einstein has beautifully presented this, he says, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking with which we have created them. समझ में आ रहा है? So he says, with our thinking we create problems. Such a great man's observation, you cannot say no to it. So he is saying we can never solve our problems with the same thinking with which we have created them. So I need to completely alter my thoughts. Sometimes I need to adapt my thoughts according to the situation that demands. So it requires a great deal of thinking. To think properly, I need a great intellect. That is why I used this word called well-informed mind. So unless I educate my mind with the help of Shastra, even solving the problems becomes a problem. So problem is enhanced again. So I should have knowledge. But here Shastra comes with a beautiful observation. It points out the limitation of this well-informed mind also. Though it sounds as the great virtue or the greatest equipment or greatest endowment, the mind, Shastra points out the limitation also. That is the beauty of Shastra. Shastra is the one which talks about the means and the end. Sadhya sadhanayoho gnanam. So it is not talking about one thing and leaves away the another. It is not glorifying the one aspect and leaves away the other. It has a complete vision. Shastra has a wider horizon than your and mine intellect. That is the reason why Shastra glorifies something and after a while it shows the limitation of that something. Because we should not confine ourselves to only that part. We have to grow in and grow out. Grow and grow out. Entry and the exit policy, both are required. So here well-informed mind is good to solve the problem, but at the same time it has a lot of limitations. Sometimes the limitation in the form of a heavy downside also. And what is that? However well-informed, however adroit our mind is capable in employing all the possible means, every means possible to solve the problem, all of it shall ever remain incomplete because we need to take one more step. Because we shall ever be perturbed and perplexed at the sight of the amplitude of the problems. So it is not that in my life I have one problem, 10 problems like that. If I am given a number of problems, that it is confined, let us say 1000 problems I have. So mere well-informed mind is good enough to tackle with them. Situation is not like that. I solve one problem as though it is solved. I am confronted by the amplitude of it. So many problems I have. So these many problems, whenever we look at them, suddenly this well-informed mind also finds itself very incapable. Somebody asked me, Maharaj, the great people who study Shastra, who are well versed with many branches of science, and who are very good at insights about living, who claim that they have some knowledge, often we see them highly disturbed. This so-called knowledgeable person, so-called highly informed person, he appears highly disturbed than any other person. Why? And it is a reality, sir, I tell you. A man of words and man of wisdom is always disturbed for some or the other reason. Of course, he won't call it a disturbance or like that. He says, because I am in such a sublime mood, anything creates a disturbance like that. He has his own ways of defending him. But this is the reality. Why it happens? Because the magnitude, the amplitude is so much that moment an intelligent mind is thinking about that, moment it contemplates of the amplitude of the number of problems that our life has, life is fraught with, that's it. One easily tends to be vexed. And problems are not so simple, there are intricacies involved in them. They are not so simple as they appear. Understand, sir, it is not just easy. And if that problem is in the form of son-in-law, it is impossible to solve. Jamata dashamo graha iti. So in Sanskritam we say like that. Jamata, the son-in-law, is dashamo graha. This fellow is the 10th planet. I was wondering why they are calling him 10th planet when we have 9 already. Why not one among the 9? You can choose to call him Shani. But no, he is 10th planet. Why? For Shani also some pariharam is there. For this fellow, no pariharam. That is why Dashamo Graha. Samajh mein hai? That's all. No prayashchitta can be done for this Dashamo Graha. So problems are so intricate. They are not like A plus B or 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Many things are involved in them. And when an intelligent mind focuses on that intricacy, suddenly feels vexed, frustrated. This is the reason why the intelligentsia of the world is ever found in a state of frustration. They are not peaceful. They remain vexed like that. Why? This is the reason, because they have forgot to take one more step. And the change happens there. One more step. So solving the problem is a good thing, but it is not the better and best. You have few more steps to walk. The Shastra is instructing you and me through Gita and all the scriptures that from solving, take few more steps towards dissolving the problem. And what is sadhana? Sadhana is this, from solving to dissolving the problems. Sadhana is not simply sitting with closed eyes. Sadhana is not in going to India and dipping yourself in all the rivers. Na varina shuddhyati chantaratma, Mahabharata Vakya. So by the waters outside, the antaratma is never cleaned. It can never, the waters outside can never cleanse the impurities of the mind. Na varina, varina na shuddhyati iti. So you require altogether a different attitude and understanding and appreciation. So what is solving we saw just now, and what is dissolving the problem? And when I use this word dissolving the problem, I mean dissolving the cause of the problem. And what is that, O Swami ji? Uske liye kya karna chahiye? And what is the aid? What is the instrument which is available to me? For solving the problem, I require an instrument called well-informed mind. So I repeat again. For solving the problem, all I require is a well-informed. For dissolving the problem, I require a well-formed mind. Kya baat hai? Huh? So there are two aspects of mind now. One is well-informed mind, and another one is much more profound, much more beautiful, much more sublime is well-formed mind. Suvyavasthita manaha iti. Yogastha kuru karmani iti. So a mind which is integrated, well-formed mind. So with this well-formed mind, I will be able to dissolve the cause of every problem. How can you say that? What is the proof? What is the reason and logic? The reason is ill-formed, deformed mind is the cause of all problems. Evandi arthamaitunda? This word problem has its genesis, the origin, in something called mind. And what kind of mind it is? Deformed mind, ill-formed mind. So when problem is due to ill-formed mind, the solution is, the dissolution is well-formed mind. That's it. This is what Upanishad is hinting at. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. When Amrita Bindu Upanishad is giving this statement, is roaring like a lion with this statement, that your mind is responsible for everything, for your joy, for your sorrow, for your happiness, for your dukkam, sukham, dukkam, everything. This is what it is saying. So all you require is to have this well-formed mind. There is one wonderful text written by Bhagavad Padacharya called Viveka Chudamani. Wonderful text. But you know, you require a teacher to explain that, because it is Vedanta, it's a different language. Every word is technically presented. So you require a teacher to explain. But offer a prayer to Ishvara that give me some teacher, provide to me one teacher who can teach me Viveka Chudamani. Because in that, Bhagavad Padacharya gives everything in such a crystal clear manner that mere knowledge of those verses will solve many issues, hidden issues of our life. The issues that burden, that load our bosom. And there Acharya is saying in 172nd shloka in Viveka Chudamani, Vayuna aniyate megaha punastenaiva niyate manasa kalpyate bandaha mokshastenaiva kalpyate. Like the wind that gathers and scatters the clouds, so is the mind which creates, solves, dissolves the problems. So it is the mind which creates the problem. When we say mind, you have to prefix something. And the prefix is ill-formed, deformed mind. And when we say it is the mind which solves every problem, dissolves every cause of the problem, then we have to prefix something called well-formed mind. Well-formed mind is much more greater than the well-informed mind. Understand, sir? That is called inner culture. Whenever you are doing puja, you are praying for it. Unfortunately, we don't pay heed to what our priests are saying. And at least 25 gotrams he wants to chant. And what a tragedy. And he is talking about his new company and his newly married daughter. She should have some children now. He is all uttering everything there. But when the priest is saying dharma, artha, kama, moksha, chaturvida, purushartha, siddhyartham, all is covered. That's it. You need not utter single word after that. But ignorance has no limits. And we have no concern for the puja there anyway. We have no bhakti at the lotus feet of the Lord. If you want to see what is bhakti, go and read Bhagavata. What is devotion, you will see there. The devotion which you are thinking and I am thinking to be the devotion is many a time is not in conformity with the Shastra. Unless it is in conformity with the sacred scripture, it is not considered a devotion. And in 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says, whatever that goes against to the injunction of the scripture is not considered sattvika at all. E shastra vidhimutsritya. Out of some whims and fancies, if you do something in the name of religion also, it is not categorized as religion. And whatever is done with ashraddha, Bhagavan says, he has no second word. He is just saying, anything that is performed with ashraddha has no phalam here, no phalam hereafter also. That means he is simply saying it is sheer waste of time. You go and read your Bhagavad Gita. There is no second thought about it. He said whatever is performed, not following scripture and not having shraddha in the bosom, in the heart, then it is for no use. The priest is saying dharmartha kama moksha chaturvida purushartha siddhyartham. Not only that, bahya abhyantara shuchi. Not only outer cleanliness for my antaratma jayam, which is a best thing for Shreyas, as mentioned in Kathopanishad. So we don't pay heed. Real puja is meant for that, to have that well-formed mind. So now my question, or the question of a seeker is, because I have understood that well-formed mind is required for my life to be happy, how to get it, how to make it. Shall I get one? Or shall I make my mind well-formed? Now please tell me, kaun banega crorepati? So well-formed mind is a prerequisite or the requisite for me to be happy. This is what is the conclusion. My question to all of you is, how to get it, whether to get it, how to make it. Sochiye, should we get it? Fortunately, there is no need of getting. It is there. What is the beauty of the dimensions which Shastra speaks? You need not work for the well-formed mind. You need not get one new mind. You need not well-form your mind. They say, fortunately, we already have such mind. लोग तो बोलते रहते हैं, कुछ ना कुछ बोलना उनका काम है. Even when they come to satsang, they speak something. Swamiji, it is all because of the mind. I am just praying to God to get rid of the mind. And nowadays, I heard that by doing Kundalini Yoga, I will attain to that state, no mind. This is all bakwas, I tell you. No mind is a bakwas. Because the one which is thinking of no mind is the mind. People generally use the words without meaning. Even in your deep sleep called Sushupti, no mind is not possible. If you want to know all of that, I would suggest one text called Vedanta Saraha. You can just study that text. In the deep sleep, wherein the individuality is resolved as though Bijasyantarivankuro jagadidam prang nirvikalpam punaha iti. Such is the state of deep sleep, sushupti. Aham kimapi na janami sukhe na maya nidra anubhuyat. I do not know anything. I just slept and I enjoyed the sleep. Even at that time, mind is not dead, it is there. So no mind is not a reality, it is not possible at all. So we need not work to stultify the mind. We need not work for the no mind. We need not also work for something called well-formed mind. Blessed are we have that. अपने पास वो है. And mind as it is well-formed only. Here I want to take you a little deeper. Maybe I don't know how many of you have the exposure to Vedanta. So in Vedanta, when it comes to the explanation of creation, then we have a beautiful way of presenting it. Tataha akashas sambhutaha akashat vayuhu vayos tejaha tejasa apaha adhyah prithvi. Like that we have a small statement from Taittiriya Upanishad. Tataha, from Bhagavan came space. Space is born. From space, air is born. From space and air, fire is born. From the three, waters are born. From the four, Prithvi is born, the earth is born, like that we have. And in Tattva Bodha we say, Etesham pancha tattvanam samashti satvikamshat manobuddhi ahankara chitta antahkaranani sambhutani. The creation constitutes the gross and the subtle. First comes the subtle creation and subtle becomes the grossified creation. In Vedantic terminology we call it Panchikaranam, solidification of the elements. Thus from elements, elementals are born. Bhutebhyo jatam bhautikam iti. This bhautika jagat comes. So before this bhautika, we have something called subtle creation. And what is subtle creation? It is all the subtle bodies. Now again I am afraid if I use the subtle body, you have one more crazy notion that in meditation subtle body goes here and there. And people write books about that. In my meditation, my subtle body went to Himalayas, my subtle body went to Tirumala, my subtle body went there. I tell you, sir, if your subtle body goes out, you are good for Ram Naam Satya hai, that's all. It is the subtle body which keeps your body alive. But people just use the words, They don't have any Shastra background, they don't study Shastra. But if you have to study and speak, that makes it logical. People generally say, I was doing meditation and suddenly my astral body, my subtle body, my Sukshma Deha has come out of my body, and from Troy, it has travelled all the way to wherever you want to go. Shastra is not accepting that idea. Because subtle body can never leave this physical adjunct, physical body till the exhaustion of prarabdha. It is all so well interconnected. It is not by your little meditation that your subtle body is gone out. Nahi ho sakta. Prarabdha ke adesh ke bina, minus the exhaustion of the prarabdha, subtle body cannot come. At the time of exhaustion of prarabdha, the Udana Vayu Vijrumbhanam happens. The Udana Vayu becomes predominant. And which does the Udgiranam. It collects all the Sukshma Tattvas and leaves this body. That's all. Gatavati Vayo Deha Paye Bharya Bibhyati Tasmin Kaye Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam. Baad mein, this very endearing body, oh wonderful body, handsome body, no one dares to touch it. And even if you touch, you have to take bath. Earlier you were shaking hands and warm embraces, and now to touch, after touching a snanam is required. Is it not right? Such apavitram it is. So what I mean to say, the astral body, the subtle body is the first creation. And in that we have mano, buddhi, chitta, ahankarani. This is called mind in one word. If you hair split it, it becomes manas, buddhi, chitta and ahankara, antahkarana chatushtayam. Otherwise, with one word mind, all is indicated. With one word manaha, all is indicated. So this mind, our Shastra is saying, is made up of the sattvika amsha of Panchamaha Bhutani. I am trying to drive home some important point. And that point is, your mind by nature is sattvikam. That's it. This is what I wanted to tell you. मगर आसानी से बोले तो कोई समझता नहीं, इसीलिए I complicate things and make it simple. Otherwise people don't appreciate if I simply say your mind is beautiful, your mind is sattvic. क्या महाराज है, इसको कुछ पता ही नहीं, ऐसा बोलते हैं. So I complicate and make it subtle. So why I explained all this cosmology, why I explained all this creation, to prove one point, that your mind, your antahkarana is sattvikam. That's it. That is why there is a name for the mind called sattva. Ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhihi. Like that Upanishad Vakya is there. By the refinement and the purity of food, sattva shuddhi happens. What is sattva shuddhi? Sattva is already pure. What is sattva shuddhi? There sattva means mind. The another name of the mind which is often seen in Shastra is sattva. Sattvam. That means it is predominantly sattvic in nature. That means it is already well formed.